This one graph could absolutely blow the lid off of everything you've been told about why men are spiraling into anger, frustration, and helplessness. Society has got their foot on the necks of men and they're calling it progress. Buckle up, because we're about to look at the emotional cage match that men are fighting right now. And trust me, the numbers don't lie. Meet your emotional roadmap. This is a spectrum of healthy human emotions. Right here in the center is a relatively emotionless state. You're not feeling particularly good, particularly bad, particularly strongly at anything. But things get a little bit more interesting when we go off to the sides. If you have a look here on the left-hand side, you'll find your vulnerability emotions. This is vulnerability city. Things like depression, sadness, frustration, helplessness, all these kind of what I like to call they're their emotions. When we're feeling these emotions, we are generally pulled to inaction. We stop taking action, and the healthiest thing to do is to seek support from the community that we have around us. When we flip over to the right-hand side over here, this is our wild side of life. These are the action emotions. They're the wildest parts of our nature, the things that make us feel anger, resentment, vengefulness, horniness, excitement, all of these very action-oriented emotions that cause us to want to do something right now to change the situation that we find ourselves in. Now, this is a spectrum of healthy emotions for both men and women. Sometimes you're feeling really vulnerable and need support from your environment, and sometimes you're feeling ready to kick the world's ass. But here's where things get really spicy. Society at some point has decided that the emotions here on the left are sweet, feminine, nice, lovely. The emotions on the right are dangerous, and especially for men, they're toxic. And spoiler alert, that is utter bullcrap. Stick with me here. Around 7,000 years ago, human beings learned to start farming. This was really fantastic. High fives all around. But as a problem, disease started to go up, infant mortality started to go up, and something else started to go up dramatically as well, limited resources, because we started to hoard resources to feed a city, to feed a town, and there were people wanting to take those resources from us. As a result, fighting and wars would crop up anywhere there was a successfully sized town or city with neighbors. To deal with this, we learned a couple of important lessons. Women had to start becoming baby machines. Too many children were dying young, and we needed to bolster the population and feed more men into the fighting army to protect ourselves. Men needed to become that fighting army. We had to start to fight or die to protect our homeland. Why do we know this was absolutely necessary? Because absolutely every successful civilization in history followed this one specific code. Men, you have to squash your vulnerability and be willing to fight, kill, or be killed. That is the definition of masculinity. Women, you have to become baby factories. Ancient Rome, ancient Greece, ancient China, right? The world over, every big successful civilization had this exact same set of rules. And any town or civilization that didn't follow these rules would quickly be wiped out by someone who did. It was pure survival. Now, you rinse and repeat this societal mindset for a little while, and what do you have? Men, chin up, bolster up, stop feeling emotions, stop crying, men don't cry, get down, squash the part of you that is vulnerable and focus on the wild part of you, because that's what we need. That is the height, the pinnacle, the best thing a man could possibly be. And here we run into our first problem. If you cut off vulnerability for men, what are you left with? Well, you're left with the wild stuff, the anger, the horniness, the rage, the resentment, the restlessness. And that's all that's left. And if that's all that's left, what do you have? You have dangerous men who are going to do dangerous and violent things because they're the only emotions that they're allowed to feel. And here's why wildness becomes so toxic on its own. Because if you've cut off from your ability to feel your own pain, you are simultaneously cutting off from others' ability to feel pain. So you are suddenly oblivious to any negative impact your actions may be having on others. Oblivious or not caring. Because after all, you've stamped out your own emotions, you're going to stamp out those of others as well. And I'm not just making this up. The numbers back this up. 90% of violent crime is committed by men. 1 in 5 women are victims of sexual assault. This is a very real thing that's exhibiting itself in our society right now. Drugs, gambling, binge drinking, violence. Is this all a coincidence? Absolutely not. It's what happens when you give someone half an emotional toolbox and fail to give them a manual. Now, zoom to 2025, and men are, slowly but surely, starting to claw back and reclaim their vulnerability. This is amazing. But at the same time, those feminists out there, bless their hearts, have decided that because there's a very real problem of men hurting women, something needs to be done about it. And that's something, it went very, very wrong. They decided that to eliminate the worst of men's behavior, the best thing to do was to shame men's wild natures. Are you angry? Well, that's toxic. Are you horny? Well, that's creepy. Are you feeling dominant? Well, that's just patriarchal poison. And the list goes on. Then you pile on the meltdown of the modern nuclear family. In the USA right now, 50% of boys are growing up without a father. And single moms and female teachers, you are heroes, it's true, but you are also doing your damnedest right now to squash male wildness, while at the same time force feeding him vulnerability. And so what do we end up with? We end up with milquetoast, repressed, impotent men. So here's how it comes together. If you are all wildness and no vulnerability, then you are dangerous. You are a danger to society. But on the flip side, if you are all vulnerability and no wildness, you are a puppy dog. You are lovable as hell, but not sexy, not one little bit. You see, vulnerability makes you lovable. People who are vulnerable are very easily loved, but they're not sexy. Not at all. If you've ever heard a woman say, "Oh, you're such an amazing guy. I wish I could find someone like you, but hey, let's just be friends. You're going to make some woman really happy one day." Okay, mixed messages aside, what the heck is she saying? She's saying, you are really lovable, and I love that part of you, but I want to find someone who's both lovable and sexy. That's what she's trying to tell you. You don't have both sides. Because vulnerability is lovable and wildness is sexy. You can be all wild and sleep with lots of women and no one's going to want to date you and you'll never be able to have a happy relationship, or you can be all vulnerable and have lots of female friends. Or you can be both and have the best of both worlds, as you're damn well meant to. Men today, we are being emotionally attacked from both sides because there is still a very strong cultural legacy to man up, to stop being so soft, to not cry, to not be too vulnerable. Seriously, those of you watching who would feel worried or scared to show helplessness or depression or sadness or cry in front of a girl, I'm willing to bet more than half of you would struggle with that, would be afraid that she'd leave you on the spot. On the flip side, there's a feminist saying toxic masculinity, all forms of wildness are toxic. Don't be so toxic. Don't be angry. Don't demonstrate these emotions, even if you're not acting on them in the wild. And as a result, your emotions are being cut off from both ends, and it's leaving you feeling helpless and impotent and alone. And there is nothing you can do because you're not allowed to feel anything too strongly, or someone's going to be attacking you along the way. You want to be like lions, unashamed of the fire you've got within, but smart enough not to burn the house down. Imagine this. This is an example of great masculinity in its completion. You walk into a bar and you see a woman and she is hot. She is just your type. You're like, look at her. The hunter inside of you wakes up. You start to feel horny. You feel a sense of a mission to be accomplished. You go in there, you focus. You don't have shame. You're not embarrassed about being you and going for what you want. You go straight to her. You talk to her. You try to flirt with her. Within a couple of minutes, you start to sense, wait up, she's not feeling comfortable. She doesn't want me to be here. So you say, hey, it was nice to meet you, and you walk away. That is healthy masculinity. That is going for what you want and being at the same time sensitive to what others are feeling without shame. And men, this will hit absolutely everything in your life. This will hit the respect that other people give you in your life. This will impact the way people treat you at work. It's damn sure going to impact your romantic relationships that you have in life. It's going to impact the leadership. Real leadership is someone who can take action while at the same time being sensitive to the needs of the people they're leading. This myth of toxic masculinity, it is absolute garbage. It is destroying the souls of men around the Western world right now. It's true. For survival, for almost 7,000 years, we men have had to squash our vulnerability. Women have had to squash their wildness. But those days are over. It's not necessary anymore. And the solution to the problem is not to shame us into behaving the way women have decided they want us to behave. So men, listen up. Stop apologizing for your wildness. It's not toxic. It's powerful. Wield it like a goddamn sword. Take control of your life. Society has a dead wrong trying to shame you into a corner. And it's time right now for men to show them how wrong they really are. Drop a comment in the comment section below and let me know if you feel caged like I know so many of you do. Are you sick of the guilt trips, the double standards, the emotional handcuffs that women in our society are trying to subject us to? Go ahead and whack that like button and hit the bell to subscribe to my channel. And let's show them how wrong they really are. It isn't hard. Start connecting with both your wildness. Own it. Don't feel ashamed about it. And at the same time, be vulnerable. Hold on to that because that is a piece of who you are as a man. As always, guys, I hope you've got a lot out of this video. It's something that I'm really passionate about, and I look forward to seeing you in my future videos.